welcome to episode 49 of GameSpot After Dark. We are getting really close to 50. We have nothing exciting planned for the 50th episode, at least not that I know of. But yeah, thank you all so much for stopping by. And joining me this week is Lucy James.
Hello.
Tamor Hussein.
Hi.
And...
That's when the blessings come in. Blessings come in.
There he is.
Blessing Adeoye Jr.
It's me. What's up, guys?
So hold on, what's the background of that? I wasn't told.
That is a viral video clip of. Let me actually get the name of the video up. But we use it frequently because Blessing, myself, Lucy, and a few others play Overwatch.
Friend of the podcast, Simon Cardy.
Simon Cardy,
Never heard of him.
Daniel Krupa, various other folks. And whenever Blessing joins our party, he plays that. And it's actually an excerpt from a video called what is it called? Be a Funnel. It's Be a Funnel, and
Of course it is. Of course, that's what it's called.
And it's just like the description is River Kids preaching, and there's this kid with a mic, and she's doing the whole evangelical. Get hype because God's about to.
Is she
work
not trying
through
to
you.
speak in tongues?
And
Is
she's
that what
like
she's trying to
asking
do?
people
Yeah.
to speak in tongues. It's 7 minutes and 30 seconds long. It is the most butt-clenchingly awkward thing you will ever see. It's this little girl just being like speaking in tongues, and it's just there's one bit where she says the phrases "Brashikira," blah blah blah. That's when the blessings come in.
Yeah.
And that's
There's more. I'm trying to find the other ones because there's like great quotes in there. Like, I think it's this one. Hold on.
Shikira ba ba ba. Bara shikira ba ba ba. And I know a lot of you guys need blessings in here.
And honestly, like it's made like watching this video has made my life 10 times better, especially during this quarantine, because it makes me feel wanted. It makes me feel loved. So there you go.
Yeah, that's the story of it.
The backstory.
Well, thank you, Blessing, for joining us. I think you're the first guest to have been on the show twice now.
Okay, that was going to be my
least.
next question actually, because I was gonna ask, like, you know, am I in the lead for
You're in the lead.
Spot After Dark
You
guest
are.
appearances? Okay,
Yeah.
You're probably
That's
the most probably like requested as well.
really?
I don't know. I made that up, but it's probably
Yeah, I was gonna say,
most
I haven't heard that,
requested
but I
by Michael
believe
Hyam.
yeah, most requested by the GameSpot team.
Now, can I say I do have a complaint? This is the second time I'm on the show, and Michael
Okay.
Hyam isn't here. Where is Michael Hyam?
Well, are we not good enough for you?
Wow.
I mean, you guys are great. I'm just saying, I just love Michael Hyam. You know,
The other
I
day-
listened to the show. I actually stopped listening to the show because Michael Hyam's not on it enough.
He's
other
been on
day-
the past
Wow.
couple episodes.
The other day on
But I would know because I stopped listening.
on a PS I Love You, you were talking about GameStop and said GameSpot, and you don't hear me giving you shit about it. So
Damn,
Wow.
that's a bold-faced lie because he slid into my DMs the other day about it with the exact clip with the video, and I watched it.
I
and felt
screen
very
recorded
ashamed.
it and I sent it to him on WhatsApp, and I was like, "Where you're going to is jail, Blessing."
Well, thank you for joining us this week. And it was pretty last minute. I was like, we should get Blessing on. It's been a while. And like,
Been a while.
I don't know what, 5 hours ago, I messaged you and you're like, well, I got another podcast, but I think we should be able to make that work. So thank you.
man. For sure,
Happy to
yeah.
have
If
you
it was any other podcast, I'd probably say no. But GameSpot After Dark, I almost said
Ooh.
GamesCast After
Game,
I thought you were going to say GameStop after
GameStop.
dark.
I
After
was
Dark.
expecting GameStop.
GameSpot After Dark, of course. Like I gotta lend you guys my time because I joke that I stopped listening to the podcast. That's mainly because I ran out. That's mainly because I don't have time in the day anymore because I'm a podcaster now. But if I was listening to podcasts as regularly as I was, you guys would be on top of the list.
oh,
I-
you'd love to hear it.
Aw.
It'd be After Dark,
Mhm.
Giant Beast Cast, and then Bombcast, and then all the other ones
Yeah,
in that order.
that's good order.
Damn.
It's a good order.
I will say I get where you're coming from. I used to listen to podcasts all the time until I started working at GameSpot. And now it's like, I listen to one a week if I'm lucky.
Well, I mean, also,
Yeah.
no one has a commute anymore.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's another big reason. Not commuting has
Yeah.
done that too.
I listen to so many podcasts still. Like I'm always
When?
listening to a podcast. Just always. I don't
can't
like,
work if I'm listening to someone talking. I can listen to music. I can't listen to.
not when I'm working. Like if I got up to go from here to go downstairs to get myself some water, I would put on a podcast. Like that's the level of just because I don't like silence. I need to like always have some sort of sound going, and I don't like listen to music unless I'm if I'm at home. I'll listen to like a podcast. So I listen to a lot.
Well, anyway, should we talk about what we've been playing?
Mm-hmm.
Lucy, do you wanna kick it off?
I have been playing Ghost of Tsushima. I can't talk about that until the embargo lifts next week. That's like not a humble brag that I've been playing it, but it's literally consuming my life. So that's what I've been playing. But also, I downloaded The Sims 4 again for a playthrough stream to do a goof. Tam and I were playing with Elise and James Willems from Funhouse earlier today. And
that's James and Barbara Duncombe for you. Blessing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. I love James and Barbara.
Yeah.
It was actually Elise's birthday. Elise, of course, from Rooster Teeth. Her birthday about a week ago, July 2nd.
Yeah.
Her birthday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Hang on, that took me a second there to remember the goof.
Yeah.
I'm on board now. So I was playing yesterday to set it up. We did a challenge. So things that have changed so differently from when I played The Sims, like I knew of the exchange and I knew of ways to swap custom content, and people would post stories and storylines and storybooks and stuff. And then with The Sims 4, I didn't realize just how much they'd lent into the community created stuff. And the fact that it has this huge audience now online with like so many Sims YouTubers. I knew of like Claire Siobhan and a couple of other people on like Sim Guru, Sim Supply. But I didn't realize it had this whole sort of giant culture. Like I think most gamers have experience with The Sims. But I didn't realize just how strong it was and how much it had changed, I guess. And so yesterday I was looking into what we could do on the stream to make it a bit more fun and not just, hey, let's just make a sim and follow around. I found this big list of challenges. And so some of them are like gold digger challenge, where you have to try and like marry and get as rich as possible.
Are these in-game challenges or are these
in-game challenges?
Okay, so
like,
they are in-game?
Oh, no. Sorry, in-game is in like you play them, but the rules are set up by the community.
Okay, I see.
So there's obviously like the 100 Baby Challenge is very popular.
Yeah.
There's the Black Widow Challenge, which I really liked, where you make a femme fatale sim and then just get married and kill your husband as much as possible. And like do that a bunch. And so the one that we settled on yesterday was the 3 Little Sims Challenge, where you have 3 separate Sims who all live on the same lot, 3 separate houses. And the rule is that you only control 1 Sim per day, and the others have autonomy to do everything they want to do. So you basically just like try and keep them on track and see how they go off and do their own thing. And so today when we were playing, I downloaded the Vampire Pack and the Magic Pack. So, and I also the Pets one. So we had like one woman who's obsessed with cats. We had a slacker teen called Liam who eventually became a wizard. And then we had a vampire called Reese Lemon, who I really enjoyed.
Who would never walk anywhere. He would only turn into a bat and walk and then reappear. So it was hilarious to see him like move 3 steps but disappear and then reappear as a bat.
But then, I mean, the thing that really got me about, because I played The Sims so much when I was younger, just like an impossible amount, is the way that they've changed build and buy mode. I mean, like build mode and buy mode are one mode now. And the fact that like you don't have to, the way that you can just pick on a pre-furnished room and just drop it in is crazy to me. It's like incredible because I'm not great at interior design or anything. I would be the person who would spend hours and hours in build and buy mode. But then the way that it's so easy just to drop in the pre-made stuff or even go on the gallery and just download it and put it straight in, incredible. And so I was only supposed to spend, half an hour yesterday setting everything up. And I spent like 2 hours just playing The Sims. And then we played for a couple hours again today. And I have next week off. And so part of me is kind of thinking, well, what could I do? So I'm excited about that. It's kind of nice it's a kind of comfort game, sort of revisiting a lot of things about it that are so familiar. But it also has this kind of sheen of being new because I haven't played it properly in at least a couple of years. I think the last time I put some serious time into it was the cats and dogs stuff that came out. when I had a household with me and Oscar Isaac, and we had a cat. But that
Nice.
didn't save. So it wasn't on my PC when I booted up. So RIP that relationship. But yeah, Sims 4, man. Because it was shite when it first came out.
Mm.
I think that was the only time I played it. I think I played it when it came out briefly, and I was like, yeah, no.
I played
Well,
the
I mean-
console version, which was
Yeah, the console version was on PS Plus a couple months ago. But the thing about Sims 4 when it came out, and it's something like Sim-based Sims games suffer from, is that you're coming off the heels of the previous Sims game, which has all the expansion packs, all the stuff packs,
Mhm.
everything. And then you have to start fresh, and you kind of have to put some elements of that in the base game. The Sims 4, though, didn't have... It had two very weird omissions, one of which was swimming pools, but the other which was toddlers. An entire life stage, which was so crucial before, was just gone, and that was really weird. And it just felt very, very limited. And then they've gradually patched all that stuff in and had all these packs and everything. And yeah, it's in a great place. Anyway, that's what I've been playing. Sims 4.
I love listening to people talk about Sims 4 because at a certain point, like something will be said, and I don't know whether or not they're being serious or not. Like whenever somebody's like, "Oh yeah, there's a new DLC," and it basically like expands out on the island experience, and you get to have an island and have a tropical thing going. I'm like, okay, that sounds reasonable. And then like another person will be like, "Oh yeah, also there's cats and dogs DLC," and then I'm like,
Oh, no. If you
Mess
want to
with
know
me?
the most ridiculous DLC for The Sims 4, Laundry Day stuff. That was voted on by the community. The community voted to put Laundry Day stuff in. There's like eco living, I think apartment life. There's a
Is there a
surprising
knitting thing?
amount.
Because I feel like I heard about knitting recently being a thing in Sims 4.
Oh, I don't know. Let me see.
See, that's the good life. That's where the gaming industry as a whole should be. Because people out here complaining about Last of Us 2's ending needs to be changed and certain characters need to have different fates. Meanwhile, Sims community is like, can we get laundry, please? Any chance we can get laundry?
So actually, I didn't realize that this had even happened. The Sims 4 Nifty Knitting stuff is the upcoming 17th stuff pack for The Sims 4. It marks the introduction of knitting as well as the return of the rocking chair. This is the kind of stuff that I live for, so I'm very, very into it.
The return of the rocking chair. It's got a nice ring
That's
to
awesome.
it.
That does have a nice ring to it. Like the rocking chair's been out of the game for a while.
These are the battles I can get behind.
Well, this
Yeah.
was all
Rocking
voted
chair
for
and
by the
Sims.
community. Stuff Pack was developed as a result of a series of votes for themes, build by, and create sim assets and icons/titles similar to Laundry Day stuff.
I remember when
Rise
I
of the
worked-
Rocking Chair, Return of the Rocking Chair, Revenge of the Rocking Chair. That's the only place my brain is going right now.
When I worked in retail, we used to have like cabinets behind the cashier's desk, and they'd have like a bunch of games in there, the most popular. We used to have one entire bay dedicated to Sims and Sims expansions
Mate.
because there were an absurd amount of them, and they were just selling all the time, non-stop. It was like always Sims. Like people would come in and buy a game and then just be like, you know how you pick your sides on a meal? Like, should I get fries? Should I get like mashed potato? Should I get coleslaw? People are like, I'll take that copy of The Last of Us and I'll get a Sims stuff pack on side, please.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love how other games are like Samurai Showdown is like, oh yeah, let's collaborate with For Honor for our DLC, get a new character, make this huge thing, let's get the action going. Other games are like, yo, let's put out whole level packs. Let's up the action. And Sims is like, yo, fuck it, knitting. Oh, can I cuss on this show?
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. The Sims though, like, it's had some incredible tie-ins over the years. They had an IKEA stuff pack. They had H&M.
Oh yeah.
Katy Perry had her own pack. Like, honestly,
we accidentally found like a Moschino hoodie in our thing, and then carried on scrolling. It's like, oh, there's a Boba Fett helmet here, and Darth Maul face. It's like, what? Just no rhyme or reason to it. They're just like, let's
I
just
love
create
it.
the world. It's fantastic.
I think when the actual world is on fire around you, it's nice just to retreat into The Sims.
It's been because
And you
Dave
probably
Jewett,
own it because it was free on PS Plus in February if you have a PlayStation.
Yeah, because Dave Jewett
I've been-
from our UK team has been streaming loads on his personal account, and he's been doing a lot of Sim stuff. So I've been watching that, and it's slowly been making me think maybe I should install Sims. And now I'm like, maybe I should install Sims.
Install
Yeah.
Sims.
Did
That's
you get
the
your new
same-
PC set up tomorrow?
I haven't got my new PC yet. It's going to come at the end of July, sadly. But I do have this gaming laptop, and it
runs
like,
yeah.
Yeah. I could just like lay on my bed with this gaming laptop, warming my crotch, and just play Sims.
I would definitely put a tray on or something because this gaming laptop, even though it's just running Zoom, is already
That's the thing with these gaming laptops. It's like we've created the most up-to-date graphics technology in a small form factor, but it's going to scream like you're beating it the entire time.
Yeah, melt through your desk.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I've been playing.
Tamor, what have you been up to? Slay the Spire, right?
Yeah, I've also been playing Ghost of Tsushima. Can't say anything about it again.
Good title screen.
Good title screen.
Good continue screen.
Sword in the ground. Text
Love
on the
a sword in the
side.
ground.
Well spaced, left justified text, nice lighting, backlighting, good. More importantly, good particle effects. More importantly, when you're lingering on the title screen, doesn't make your fans kick into overdrive like some games. Looking at you, Call of Duty Warzone. Grow up,
God.
Activision.
Shots fired.
Grow up.
Shots fired. Literally.
Get rid of that infinitely walking forward group of people. Just give me text on a screen that doesn't make my PS4 scream. It's the only game I've played where, I've said this before, where during loading, it's actually, the PlayStation have put a system level error that says your PS4 is too hot. I've seen that once in my life, and it's playing that game. And I was like, I've never seen that in any console ever. It was just like, your PS4 is too hot, I'm turning it off. It's turned off. But
I've never gotten that, but I tried playing it about a week ago. And it was like, okay, you got to install a 90 gig update. And I was like, all right, I'll just let it go overnight. It installs overnight. And then I go on to play with some friends. And it's like, you can't play any of this. You got to download the game packs. And then there's like 8 different packs I need to install separately.
Oh, they've let you get rid of those now.
Oh, really?
The multiplayer pack, you can get rid of single player. You can get rid of specific. I got rid of special ops because I was like, oh, I'm playing this.
Yeah. I should probably do that. But yeah, then I just had to install a bunch of other stuff. And I was like, I'm never going to play this game.
Yeah, it's weird how crazy it's gotten as far as like all the different itemized stuff that you, I guess, have to download, but then don't have to have anymore. And like the fact that Call of Duty has gotten to the place where they're like, oh yeah, hundreds of gigs worth of data is needed to download to play this game. And I know I don't want to be the person who's like back in my day or whatever because I'm 26. But like Black Ops on PS3 didn't have that. Like, why has it gotten to such lengths? Like, why has it gotten to this point?
It's like all the additional modes first of all, but then it's all that in the Battle Royale specifically. It's all that shit they're stuffing in there for the future, isn't it? Like, it's hidden away and like I think people have said that it's not particularly well optimized or as good as it probably could be. But I hope they figure that stuff out, especially when they transition to the next generation and inevitably have a new version of Warzone there. If it's like 150 gigabytes, absolutely not. It's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't the Modern Warfare engine was like designed for next gen anyway?
Yeah.
Like they kind of made it ahead of time. So I wonder if that is or why your PS4 is, about to catch on fire.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, Ghost of Tsushima's got a good title screen. I have been playing Slay the Spire out for a bunch of platforms for a while now, and a lot of people that I know talk about it, like Cardi we mentioned before. He's always been a huge advocate of it, and one of our own, Chris Pereira, he loves that game and has always talked about it. And it came out on mobile, so I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. I think it was quite expensive though. I think it was like $10 or something like that. But I downloaded it and I tried it, and I think I'm playing it wrong. So we put out, I think we should have a review of it soon up. Chris has written a review and I read the review, and as well as reading the review, I realized that I'm playing it entirely wrong. Like I was doing the thing where I'm hoarding cards, where I'm like, oh, every time it's like, hey, you can have one of these cards. Which one do you want? I'm like, yeah. Oh, it's like, you can have this card. You've won this battle. You can have this card. You can have the money, or you can get like a boost. I'm like, obviously I'm going to take the card. But the whole point of that game is to kind of refine a smaller deck that you can employ more frequently, or that's one of the strategies. Like you don't want this deck of 90 cards with one attack in it. Instead, you want maybe a couple of attack cards and a bunch of cards that will like enhance those attacks and give you more chance of doing special abilities and that kind of stuff. So I've been coming at it all wrong. But so my kind of take on it is flawed from the outset because of that. I can see why it was good, but I didn't understand what made it special. I enjoyed playing the card element of it, but I was like, I don't get how this is better than any other deck building game. It has the roguelike elements where you're kind of working your way up a tower, and you have to make decisions on, should I have this fight, or should I try and go around? Should I rest up, or should I use my experience points? And you want to try and make it to the end to fight the boss. Should I fight this mini boss, or should I go around, etc., like that? And I was like, yeah, that's an angle, but doesn't seem that interesting. But it turns out I've been playing it in the wrong way, so I'm now getting into it with a more clearer understanding of it, having read Chris's review and spoken to Cardi a bit about it as well. It is fun. I think the art style completely puts me off. It's kind of lo-fi and like dark dungeony, but like it's got very rudimentary animations and art style. Like I want a bit. I'm spoiled for like interesting visual aesthetics, even in 2D kind of like card games. So I wish it looked a bit better, but ultimately the gameplay is there, and it does have a lot of depth to it, and I'm excited to dig into it. But yeah, it's definitely something worth playing. I'm enjoying it for how easy it is to pick up and put down. So I'll play it in between sessions of like Tsushima, or like when I'm just like at the end of the workday, I'll just sit on my bed and cry while playing Slay the Spire. So it's like good for short burst gaming. So I do recommend it, but just make sure you're playing it properly, not like an idiot like me.
Nice. Slay the Spire is a game that I've heard so much about, but I don't have the slightest clue of what that game is other than its cards.
Yeah, it's pretty much you're just a little icon moving up this path to the top of a tower where a big boss waits, and then each little dot is like an encounter with an enemy, and then you just get a handful of cards, you play the cards, and then you win, you lose, you get an item back, and then you move on to the next thing, and you're slowly like making your way to the top. Okay. So it's very simple in its mechanics, and all the depth is in the way you build your deck and understand. And there's like the other thing is like you have characters who have specific roles, strengths, and attributes, and you unlock them over time. I'm still playing with the very vanilla kind of knight style class, so I haven't got to the stage where I've unlocked more interesting characters, but it is all in that. How are you making your build? Does it work right now? And how do you build that out as you go ahead? Like you don't automatically walk into each run with a fully decked out build. You kind of make it as you go along. So and you can and then you can be like, oh, this time I'm gonna try for a incredibly tanky build. So I'm gonna focus on minimizing my deck so it's focused on improving my defendability whilst also kind of like having a small variety of attack cards that I can tank through. Or you could be like, oh, I'm going to focus on entirely building around relics, which give me wild buffs and change the way the gameplay works quite drastically.
So you don't create a deck before you enter the Spire. You create it kind of as you go.
Yeah. So you come in with a basic hand, and then you kind of like, so you're not spending ages in menus, kind of moving things around, cards and that kind of stuff. You kind of look at what you've got and like dispose of things that you don't want and add things that you do want on the fly. It's easily the most approachable deck building / dungeon crawling / roguelike game. So on that, in that regard, that's why I'd recommend it.
Cool. I might have to give that a try. It sounds like drafting in Magic the Gathering. I don't know if anyone's done that.
Yeah, it is.
It does do it every now and then, where it was like it's kind of like a roguelike, I guess, in that you make a deck on the fly and then you use that deck for the next couple duels or battle duels. Like I battles and then
I did some of that Magic the Gathering stuff as well back in the day, and it does have that vibe where you're just trying to make the most of what you got and see how you can take this limited set of cards and use them in interesting ways to get beyond your enemies.
I want a Yu-Gi-Oh roguelite. That's what I want.
That would be interesting.
I'd want it just because I hear people talk about Slay the Spire, and for me, I really like roguelites, specifically games like Dead Cells and Rogue Legacy have really spoken to me in a very heavy way where I'll get very into those games. But like for the most part, card games haven't necessarily done it for me. Like specifically card video games haven't necessarily done it for me. Yu-Gi-Oh though is like the one exception where I can get into a Yu-Gi-Oh game. And so I'm sure there's somebody out there.
Did you ever play the ones for Game Boy Advance?
Which one, like the tournament ones or?
God, I don't remember, but I had a lot of them and I played a lot of them.
So like the Yu-Gi-Oh games that I've played, right? There is Yu-Gi-Oh, Duelist of the Roses
I played
for
that was PlayStation. Right?
PS2.
Yeah, I
Yep,
played
for
that.
PS2, and that was like more so like a strategy kind of game.
Mhm.
Love that game. Specifically the soundtrack. That still has one of my favorite soundtracks in the game. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses. I had Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories for Game Boy Color that I played a lot. That was basically this bastardized version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where the rules were not anywhere near what the actual rules were, but it's like a simplified, easier version of it. Got really into that. And then on Game Boy Advance, I did have I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was like Yu-Gi-Oh! Dueling Tournament 2006 or something like that. That were like, these are the Yu-Gi-Oh! Rules. Like these are the official. This is the official way to play the game, and you would work your way up through ranks with that. And had a blast with that game. That game got very difficult because Yu-Gi-Oh! Can turn it into a pretty hard game if you're playing it casually. But yeah, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Roguelite where it is like quick bursts of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sounds like a fun time. There's also a game, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, that was on mobile. It probably still is on mobile. That kind of was an expedited version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where it is smaller decks, smaller hands, smaller like field and all this stuff. And it's more so like meant to be a mobile version of Yu-Gi-Oh! That kind of fits within not necessarily a roguelite, but within like a condensed experience of Yu-Gi-Oh! I want that plus a roguelite.
Someone make it happen.
Somebody make it happen. I know there are developers that listen to this. Make it happen, please, just for me.
Speaking of which, do you want to go off with what you've been playing, Bless?
Sure. So I got the opportunity to preview Hyperscape, which I don't know if you guys have talked about Hyperscape on the show or not yet.
Michael talked about it last week a little bit.
He gave you multiple shout outs.
I was gonna say, because I played with Michael, and so yeah, like Ubisoft invited us over to play Hyperscape, which is their new battle royale game that I think just got out of closed beta and is set to release during this summer at some point. And it's basically like 99 players, teams of 3, takes place in the Hyperscape, which is basically this future version of the internet that is developed by a company called Prisma Dimensions. It's like there's like a lot of buzz terms going on in this game. But yeah, Prisma Dimensions developed the Hyperscape, which is this version of the internet that exists, I guess, like 50 years from now, that we essentially jack ourselves into and become one with the digital landscape.
So it's like Futurama's internet. Where you put the little thing on and you wire yourself in.
Yes, I believe so. I haven't seen Futurama in a hot second, but I think I remember that episode. Yeah, something like that. And yeah, you're basically in it. And so in the Hyperscape, they have what they call Crown Rush, which is like the name of the actual battle royale. It's kind of like basically like what Apex Legends is to Apex Legends, Crown Rush is to the Hyperscape. Right. And so yeah, like people do it for fun. It's 99 players, all this different stuff. The thing that really I think makes this game interesting for me is how much faster it is than any other battle royale game I've played. As far as like the bigger ones, yeah, like it is. It feels like way more of an arena experience than any of the other ones, and so like I would compare it more so to Unreal Tournament or games like that.
Like Lawbreakers.
Lawbreakers would actually be probably the biggest comparison I would make, and like not in a bad way, because like I think Lawbreakers had pros and cons to it.
Why did you cross for Lawbreakers?
R.I.P. Because it's gone.
It's no more.
It's no more. Respect the dead.
I just feel like invoking God and religion to save Lawbreaker's soul. It's like, I'd be all right if that thing was in hell. I'm cool.
Radical Heights, rest in peace.
Yeah.
But like, so Lawbreakers like wasn't like a bad game by any means. It's just a game. It just was a game that kind of didn't take off. To me, Hyperscape has a lot of Lawbreakers-y elements in terms of the movement and kind of how quick it is. And kind of like the art style in a bit. It feels like it takes a lot of inspiration from that. But for a battle royale, which I think makes it more interesting because super fast paced, it's super vertical. And so the game takes place, the map is basically inspired by Paris. Like it takes place in like an urban environment. And so you'll find yourself on top of buildings and all this different stuff because there's jump pads and there are different abilities you can pick up. Like there's a teleport ability that allow you to teleport upwards if you want to, or get to wherever you need to go pretty quickly. There are, and they call these abilities hacks, which are they're things that you find on the map. And so like you're collecting hacks, you're collecting different guns, and it just feels like way more of an Unreal Tournament battle royale, which has me kind of excited, but at the same time kind of nervous, because when I played it, I remember it taking a bit for me to kind of like figure out the flow of it. And once I got there, I was like, okay, cool. This feels chaotic. Like it's fun, and there is like fun strategy to it, and there is an accessibility to it where you're just like it's not PUBG, it's not Apex where you're having to find attachments for your gun and different things like that. It is, hey, I got the Gatling gun. If I want to upgrade my Gatling gun, I find another Gatling gun on the map, and that'll automatically upgrade it. And I can do that 4 times. And it's like it's simple and clean. It's easy. The thing is though, like at certain points, especially toward the end of the matches, they have the crown that'll spawn on the map, and what that is basically in any other battle royale, it's last man standing, last team with all their players alive is the team that wins. It's the same here, but with the added crown element, which I don't know how many players have to be left for the crown to spawn. But once the crown spawns, whatever team is able to hold the crown for 45 seconds wins. And so
That's cool.
It's a cool thing. There's not a circle in the game, which is why I think they have the crown. Instead of the circle, what they have is the different areas of the map disintegrate, and it will essentially, like, if you're left in an area of the map that is degrading and disintegrating, you'll basically fall off the map. That's how they deal with pushing players together in this huge environment. The crown kind of feels like the last effort of that. Hey, yeah, once we have people down to like 1 or 2 districts, we'll then have it be so that like the crown is what's pulling people together. The crown is going to be the thing that everybody can see. If you get the crown, everybody sees where you're at. It is now a chase for everybody to get to you. And so it's fun in the sense that is like a strategic thing. That is a thing you have to kind of think about as a player of like, okay, cool. Do I want to grab the crown real quick, or do I want to like camp on the crown and like wait for somebody to get it so I can try and snipe them or kill them or whatever? And that's fun. The way it kind of panned out for me when I was playing, and this is like with Michael and I think Khalif, who were also playing with, when it got down to that, it just turned into a mess of bullets, of just gunfire happening everywhere, me tapping whatever button I can find, like doing whatever ability that I have on me to like try and stay alive and to try and like get people off me. It turned into a big mess, which on one hand was kind of fun. On the other hand, if every match kind of boils down to that, I could see that becoming a little bit problematic. But I think that stuff might be fixed with balancing guns and making basically like balancing different abilities and all this stuff. Because the Gatling gun, when I played, was like the thing that was super overpowered. And you know, when the Gatling gun is the thing that is super overpowered, I think that's the thing that, like, that's what the matches are going to boil down to, is that Gatling gun, which causes a mess. And so, you know, I'm hopeful for the game. I think it was pretty fun. It's not like my favorite battle royale right now is Apex Legends, and that's my favorite battle royale ever at this point. I don't think it's an Apex killer. I don't think it's a Fortnite killer, but I do think that it'll probably have its place in the battle royale ecosystem, which I think is pretty exciting.
Do you think people who are kind of like, I don't know, burnt out on the battle royale scene are gonna be into this game at all, or do you think that it's not really
I think there's something there because it feels different. Like I think when it comes to other battle royales, especially the big ones, so like Fortnite and PUBG, and even throw Apex into this, I think the thing that can maybe get tiresome of them is you'll go rounds without action and then die immediately, and you feel like you wasted your time at a certain point. Especially like if you go through all the effort of looting and finding the best attachment and finding all the purple pickups and all this different stuff. Like if you get your ideal loadout, or if you go down that route and then you die, let's say 10 minutes in, you know, that could be deflating, and you can be like, okay, well, there is a mood that I have to be in order to play this. For Hyperscape, it feels very much like it. Matches just way quicker in the sense that you'll probably find action, and if you die, it'll probably be pretty quick, and you can get back into a match pretty quickly. And also, like, that's another big thing is the revival system in this game encourages getting people back into a match, like getting people back into the same match, more so than others. Even Apex, like Apex is the game that introduced the whole respawn beacon, and you get people back into the same match. This game has it so that basically, if I die as a player and I still have teammates in the game, I turn into an echo, and I'm able to still run around the map and scout for my teammates. I can't shoot a gun. I don't even think other players can see me. Like I'm just like an invisible ghost essentially. But I can scout and help out my teammates in that way. And then for any other player who dies, they're the place where they get taken out then becomes a respawn point, to where now me as the ghost, I can go to that respawn point, and then my teammate who's alive can meet me at the respawn point and then bring me back to life. And so they're just like a lot more situations where you're gonna get respawned in this game. Like I remember playing a match with Khalif and Michael, and I got them back probably like 3 or 4 times each, like back into the same game.
Michael's not very good.
There's no restriction, yeah. And so like basically you're going until your whole team dies. And it's really active because of that. And I think there's something there in terms of people keeping people involved and keeping people interested. So I can see people getting into it for that.
That sounds neat. Like I'll probably try it. I don't know how into it I'll get because I haven't gotten super into battle royales. Last one I got really into was Apex. But I'm surprised that Ubisoft, when they said they were working on a battle royale, I think I just kind of assumed it would be like a Ghost Recon battle royale because that world is kind of already built for that. And like it would just make sense too. Like in my head at least, it made sense. Like, yeah, Ghost Recon, like they can use that giant map. They can have a lot of characters on that. There's already vehicle combat. There's all this kind of stuff that's already in place. So like as much as that still kind of interests me, I'm glad that they didn't just kind of turn Ghost Recon more into something it wasn't, just to kind of appeal to what the masses are into right now.
It does shock me that they didn't do Tom Clancy's blank blank as the battle royale, because I feel like that then has the name recognition. They'll probably like sell a lot. But
but I mean, like,
do it still.
Maybe that they just had the rights to do Wildlands and whatever, and they haven't renegotiated with the Tom Clancy estate.
Oh, I think they own it now. They can do whatever they want.
They own Tom Clancy?
Yeah, I think
for the games.
Because they have like, because what? There's Tom Clancy's The Division, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, Tom Clancy's.
Jeez, I forgot The Division was Tom Clancy.
Yeah, Splinter Cell. Well, I guess
Tom
we haven't
Clancy's
seen
End War.
Like at least half of Ubisoft games had to be Tom Clancy at this point.
Yeah, Tom Clancy's Steep.
Tom Clancy's For Honor, yeah. Tom Clancy's Rayman.
Yeah.
I also played Iron Man VR.
How's that?
Did you find Greg?
Oh no, I didn't find Greg. I haven't made it that far. So I've only made it to chapter 2, and I think I'm done with the game. I'm not enjoying it that much. It seems very fine. Like I don't think it's bad by any means, but it's one of those ones where I like. If we're looking at it like for the story and for the characters and all that stuff, I keep comparing it to MCU, and I feel like this Iron Man kind of pales in comparison in terms of like you can't compete with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. And so like whenever Tony Stark talks in the game, I'm like, all right, cool. I see where this is going. I see your humor. I see your quips, but you're not Robert Downey Jr.
You're not him.
You're not him. You're
not my dad.
The real one. You're not my dad. But yeah, like. That's one complaint I have with it. I also feel like the controls are kind of complicated in a way that maybe if I played it way more, I could get accustomed to. But the way that it's set up, right? Like you'll have you're playing with like 2 PlayStation Move wands, and so if you want to levitate or not levitate, I guess like fly or whatever, do the Iron Man like jetpack at the hands things. You'll like hover. Yes, thank you. If you want to hover, right, like you'll press down or you'll point down with your palms and like click the triggers, and that'll then like boost you up or whatever. Or you can like go forward by pointing back with your palms and doing the same thing. Or you can shoot by like palming upwards toward an enemy and then pressing the I guess center button on the move controller. But then you can use your wrist rockets by like pointing down on your palm. And it's stuff that is cool because it wants to make you feel like you're Iron Man. But for me, as somebody who likes playing video games and is like so used to using the PlayStation controller, I'm like, okay, cool. This would be a lot easier if I could just press triangle to do the wrist rockets and press square to do this thing. I feel like I'm learning a whole new way to play, which one hand, cool. On the other hand, kind of made me frustrated. And then, overall, it just kind of was a little bit bland for me, like in terms of the presentation and all this different stuff in the gameplay, and like the enemies are kind of all kind of droney kind of enemies. But yeah, again, I only just made it to chapter 2 though, and so like maybe down the line, like once things get flowing, I know Greg really liked it. And shout out to Greg because he has a cameo in the game, chapter 3, which I wanted to get to, but I don't think I will. But yeah, overall, I think it's like fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I can't play because I get motion sick very easily, and I just don't even want to try it.
And this does seem like a motion sick kind of game.
Yeah, Rob in our office was saying that he was getting pretty motion sick with it, and I was like, yeah, I'm just not gonna.
I don't get motion sick really, but I watched the gameplay he posted, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I could handle this. I don't think my stomach could handle that game.
Yeah, I can't. I just about made it through Batman, and I love that game in VR. And even then, I was like, I'm sick of this. I think the game that I can only VR game I can only reliably play without feeling sick is Tetris. So.
Oh yeah.
Tetris made me really sick, man. I can only do the only stuff that doesn't make me motion sick is Vive. Oculus makes me sick. PSVR makes me sick.
Have you tried Oculus Quest?
Not yet, but
Oculus Quest has probably been my best instance of VR in terms of like it working. And so I would say give that a shot possibly.
Because Greg's got a index, so I might. I mean, I've got a week off. I've got space in here. I might set up and play through Alex finally.
Yes, you should.
Oh yeah,
we'll talk about that later. I've been playing. So, have you guys heard of Deep Rock Galactic at all?
The name rings a bell.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
Space junking game, right? Spaceship junker game.
No, it's not. So I forget what that game's called. So this one is it. I guess the best way to describe it is kind of like a Left 4 Dead Payday sort of style game, but you're dwarves in space. And basically, it's a 4-player co-op game. You pick your class. As you play through these areas, you get experience and resources, and you can level up your dwarves. But basically, like the point of the game is that you and friends go out on these randomized mining missions that are very much set up like Left 4 Dead, and that there's maybe not so much different types of enemies that will like pin you down or whatever, but there are a lot of different like randomized scenarios as you dig through these these caves and whatnot to find resources and then bring it back. It's super chaotic. It's a lot of fun, especially when you have friends, and it's just like a very mindless sort of, not really a looter shooter, but kind of like a resource gathering shooter. It's on PC and Xbox. It's really good. Like I'm surprised not many people are talking about it. It was in early access for a while, and I think it came out finally in May, maybe.
I didn't even know it was out. Like, I'd heard about it, but I don't even remember the context in which I heard about it. But it sounds fun.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, there are kind of a lot of systems in it. Like, when you go to your main base or whatever, your spaceport, there's like, I don't know, a million different things you can interact with. Like, you can customize your gun, you can customize your character. Here's a shop. Here's a bar where you can go and get buffs for your next mission, kind of like Monster Hunter in that sense.
Right. Are there any cats making you dinner before you go?
No, but there's a robot that serves you beer, and there's like a really fun game where you kick barrels into this trash can. It's hard to describe. But yeah, I'm super surprised how much fun this game is. I was playing with Tim Turry and Mike Mahardy. And we were having a lot of fun with it.
Did you say it was in Game Pass?
I don't think it's in Game Pass, but it's on Xbox. It's only on Xbox and PC.
Is that crossplay?
It's crossplay between... Okay. If you've got it on Windows or Microsoft, if you get it from the Microsoft store, you can play with people on Xbox. If you get it on Steam, you can only play with people on Steam.
Right.
So it's like kind of crossplay, kind of not crossplay. But yeah, I mean... I highly recommend it. I think it was on sale during the Steam Summer Sale, which is when I first picked it up. And then I ended up getting it again on the Microsoft Store so I could play with Tim because he was on Xbox. But like I've been having a great time with it. Like it's just, mindless fun. But yeah, other than that, I've been playing Civ 6, which I've found is a very good game to play right now because it's hard to focus on anything else when you're playing Civ 6, because it's just like you're always thinking turns ahead. You're managing your units and your cities and whatnot. But I was also playing that with Mike. We tried multiplayer for the first time, and like I don't know, it's a lot of fun. I forgot how good that game was because I played it when it first came out for a couple hours, and I was like, I really like this game, but the games take 8 hours each, and I don't have time to play more. But I've been having fun with that game too. I am surprised at how into it I am, just because I think it's just because I've got more time right now than I do otherwise. So it's just like I feel like I can just put my all into it and try to figure that game out. It's complicated as hell though, as someone who's never been that into the Civ games, trying to figure out like the difference between like a religious win or a cultural win or a military win is a lot.
God.
But
yeah, I've never really been into Civ, but people say a lot of good things about 6 and 5, and I'm like, I just don't think I can put myself. I don't think I'd have the patience for it. That's the thing. I'm one of those people that if I don't succeed early on, I will drop off.
Yeah. And that'll definitely happen. Like the Civ 6 does a good job of acclimating new players. I will say that like when Civ 6 was the first one I played, and I feel like every step of the way I was getting tutorial, and not like the kind of tutorials that was getting annoying, but it was like useful information that I could opt out if I want to, but it was never too overwhelming. Like it pretty much only gave you the tutorials when it thought you'd need them. So it wasn't just upfront telling you all this stuff. Which helped a lot. But like as I'm playing through now in multiplayer where there's no tutorials, I only have Mike trying to explain things to me, and he's not the best all the time. No
Wow.
offense, Mike.
Damn.
He's not listening.
He's not.
Although if he was, if he came back to the fold, everyone's just like ragging on Mike.
He's been helpful. He's been helpful. There's just been some things where he'll try to explain it, and I'll be like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna wing it and see what happens. But yeah, I've been having fun with that. I'm excited to play more Civ 6. And then like everyone else too, I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima, but we can't talk about that.
Don't talk about it.
Don't ask me about it.
Don't ask me about it.
Anyway,
That title screen though.
that
Great
title
title
screen.
screen.
Oh,
Great
mate.
title screen.
That sword. It's a good sword.
Get a grip, Warzone.
I do want to suggest the GameSpot feature. GameSpot feature.
Wow.
And I had to think about it because now every time I say it, I'm like, did I fuck it up? Did I say the
Tam's
wrong thing?
watching.
I'm waiting. I've got your message conversation ready.
Feel free to steal it since I'm saying this on a GameSpot product. You know, this is all yours. Top 20 title screens in video games.
Oh, I think we might have already done that.
Oh, really? Because I really want to see that. Because I want to disagree. I want to fight people.
Number 1, Super Metroid.
Super Metroid's got a good one.
It's too good, man. It's the GOAT. Oh, we haven't done that yet, but I know we definitely talked about doing that as a feature.
I think we talked about it at one point.
Yeah.
Man.
Mass Effect 2.
Oh, Mass Effect 2 is good.
With the little computer and you go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
It's a good feature, Blessing. We'll take it.
We'll take it.
Does Mario 64 count? Like with the face stretching?
That's a loading screen, isn't it?
No, that's the
press
title
start,
screen. Yeah, you got to press start.
Oh, yeah, you got to press start. I guess that counts, yeah.
That's a good one because I spent far too much time there.
Yeah.
Just stretching his face.
Pulling his nose, mate. That was the one.
Anyway, moving on to the topic for this week. Best games of 2020 so far. I feel like we're late to do this because it's already July, and I feel like most people want to do it June, halfway through the year. But I don't know.
It's the start of July. We're fine. We've let the first half of the year completely finish.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's worth doing because we did it last year, I believe, and I feel like there's a lot of good games that have come out this year that need to be talked about. I guess maybe not need to be talked about, but should be talked about. I mean, I figured we can just kind of open the floor. People can shout out games that they think are deserving so far of some of the best games of 2020, and we can talk about it from there. I don't know if there's any that jump to your head. I've got one that I want to talk about, but I can wait on that.
Go on.
Tell us more.
Half-Life Alyx.
I was going to say, is it Half-Life Alyx?
It's Half-Life Alyx, yeah. This is by far my favorite game of this year. But it's interesting because I don't think it'll get that many awards because I don't think many people have played it. I tweeted the other day. I was like, hey, what are some of the best games so far? And not a single person said Half-Life Alyx. And I had quote tweeted it, and I was like, no one said Half-Life Alyx. That's kind of a bummer. And a lot of people were not mad at me, but telling me that how hard that game is to play, which I agree with. I don't think that game's going to get a lot of attention, 6 months from now because of how difficult it is to play. But man, it's such a shame because that game is brilliant. Like people are like Last of Us 2 was a fantastic game. I really liked it, but I think when I like Half-Life Alyx does so much more to push storytelling forward in video games. And just the way that game is told, the way the characters are presented, the way you interact with the world that is just missing in a game, in a Naughty Dog style game, which normally is at the forefront of storytelling. So it's disappointing that game is going to be very difficult for people to play. Like I imagine it'll go down as a classic, like once the price of VR gets cheaper and the barrier to entry is easier to get in. I imagine that will be a game that people will, like the other Half-Life games, that people will constantly look at as being like one of the greatest. But right now it's in this really weird position where the people who've played it know it's good, but like no one's really played it, and not because they didn't hear about it, but because they just simply can't.
Yeah. And also it's weird that it's like the best games of 2020 so far. To me, it doesn't even feel like Half-Life Alyx came out this year because my concept of time,
pre-quarantine or like right at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
It feels weird. And like, yeah, I do want to play it. I'm not really a big Half-Life person, but I've heard a lot of really good things about Alyx and I do want to play it.
Neither am I, to be fair. Like I hadn't played much Half-Life until Half-Life Alyx. In fact, I started Half-Life Alyx and stopped because it was so good. And I was like, I got to play through the original. So I went through and played through all of the originals, which I didn't think it aged particularly well. I thought they were good, but I wasn't obsessed with them. And I understand that part of that is just because I missed out on that time. Like that technical presentation kind of just missed for me because, I'm playing it 20 years after. But I think it says a lot that I was like a couple hours in Alyx and I was like, I got to stop. I don't want to know what happens in this game until I know what happened beforehand.
Yeah. I think my favorite game of 2020 so far, it's weird because as much as I loved playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, I thought that combat system was incredible. I don't think I've had an experience like The Last of Us Part 2 in a game probably since the first, maybe that's hyperbolic to say since the first Last of Us. I've certainly had a lot of experiences in games that have been very profoundly affecting, but I think Last of Us Part 2, didn't expect to love Abby as much as I did. I really enjoyed that combat loop. I think it dragged towards the end, but ultimately I really, really loved that game. And I think one pro of quarantine is that games like Last of Us, where you can't really dip in and out, it kind of demands a bit more of your time. It's a bit more involved. I think that was the thing that people had with Red Dead 2. It's a game that really excels when you play it in a long stretch. And so Last of Us, I would be able to put in, like 4-hour stints on the regular because I didn't have a commute anymore. I'd be home already. I could eat dinner pretty early and then just play through until I felt tired. And so I really enjoyed it. I think the acting in it is phenomenal. I really enjoyed the writing. I really particularly enjoyed the gameplay loop. And like I bounced because Horizon was on sale, and I think I talked about it last time I was on the podcast a few weeks ago, but it's like playing Horizon.
Adeoye talks too much.
Oh my God.
Too much.
But it's like, it's really the difference between the two, where Aloy is just unbearable to listen to, and that's not Ashley Birch's fault, but it's the fact that she over-explains every single thing that she's doing. Then you go to a Last of Us game where it's still a third person, and a lot of the time your character is alone, but it trusts you not to have the character say, oh, I should probably look for an exit, or oh no, there's wolves, I should probably avoid them. Like it's maybe just two different schools of game design, right? And I guess the difference there is that Last of Us is very much more, it's got more open areas, but it's very linear, whereas Horizon is that big open world. So maybe it's just that, but yeah, I really, really loved The Last of Us. And so a miserable experience, a very emotional experience, but I think there are moments of levity in there. I think I'm not gonna spoil, but everyone knows very beautiful mission that makes everyone tear up. I'm just getting emotional thinking about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The way
I've
I
seen
kind of look
fan
at.
art of it now, which is like, no. Don't do
Oh,
this to
can you
me.
please send me the fan art,
Yeah,
please?
I will.
Please, I would like to see
It's
that.
so
But yeah,
sweet.
the way I kind of look at The Last of Us Part 2 and the way I kind of explain it is because I know like during the pre-release period, I know there are so many people that are like, hey, everything's already depressing in the real world. Do I want to step into this game that's going to be this depressing experience? And I think the game does a really good job of having like some of the most dark and grim, like most grim moments I've experienced in a video game, but also some of the most warm and like, you know, personal
Human?
and human moments. You know, like there are moments in that game where you see interactions with Joel and Ellie, and these are no spoilers, but like there's some interactions with Joel and Ellie that like warmed my heart. There are like some interactions between even like Dina and Ellie, or like between quite a few different characters that like make me go like, man, this game is doing a phenomenal job of displaying humanity. And like, you know, there was the whole quote towards the release of this game, or I think it might have been like a year or so ago, where I think Neil Druckmann was talking about this game and explaining it as being a game about hate. And I think The Last of Us Part 2 is very much a game about love as much as it is about hate also. Like love is as much a motivating factor for the characters as hate is. And yeah, like for me playing through the game, I remember dreading it. I remember being like, I would like for this game not to come out right now because I just am not in the mood. I wish that somehow, and this is me speaking early June, right? Like I was like, man, I wish they would have somehow switched around this game and Ghost of Tsushima, because Ghost of Tsushima at the time was a game where I was like, man, I am very much way more in the mood to play that type of game than to play a game like The Last of Us Part 2. And when I was actually playing it, The Last of Us Part 2, I remember probably being like quite a few hours in, being like, man, I am engrossed and I am not having a problem with this game the way I thought I was going to have a problem with this game. Like, this game is doing such an excellent job of feeling like an escape. Like, it's an escape into a world that is grim and dark and messed up and all these different things, but it still worked and functioned as an escape because the game is so engrossing in its story and in its world and in its characters. And so I'm with you that like that is definitely at the top of my list for games this year. Not my number one necessarily. It might be by the time the year ends, but
halfway through. What's your?
Sorry, go for it. Go for it.
Oh no, I was gonna say, well, halfway through, what's in the running?
Right now, and this could all change, but right now it's Final Fantasy VII Remake. I really love that game. Yeah. I love that game. And like I have, because I'm a huge nerd, I have like a running document, a Google document of like all my favorite games of all time. And I will like preface this. You do too? Okay, so I'm not the only one, thank God. I will preface this that like as of the day I finished The Last of Us Part 2, I put Last of Us Part 2 literally one space right below Final Fantasy VII Remake, right above Last of Us, coincidentally. And so like they're very close. And ask me next week, it might change. But Final Fantasy VII Remake was a game for me that like I don't know, man, knocked me out. Like I was not expecting to love that game as much as I did because I did not play the original Final Fantasy VII. I have no affinity for Final Fantasy in general. Like I kind of have this running thing where I am not able to get into Final Fantasy games. You know, I've tried playing the original. I tried playing Final Fantasy 13, which I know is the wrong one to try and play according to many people. And like I also tried playing Final Fantasy 14, which is a different thing. But like I've tried getting into Final Fantasies in the past, like even Kingdom Hearts, you know, which are games that I like. I've never really fallen in love with those types of fantasy games, fantasy JRPGs. And Final Fantasy VII Remake, playing it, I was like, man, I don't. It's this combination of the world, because it is this fantasy sci-fi meld, cyberpunk, like this melded different, you know, types of I guess sci-fi fantasy that they present to you. It's that plus the characters that feel so real despite being so anime and so like over the top. Barrett's speech toward the beginning and even multiple speeches that he gives throughout the game, as far as him being like, hey, like, you know, Mako is the lifeblood of our world, and him like kind of going on the spiel of why they're eco-terrorists and why they're doing what they're doing. Like, I felt that, and I felt that not only in the writing, but in the performance and in the facial capture, and maybe not facial capture, but in the animation. Like I felt that all there. Story moments that happen, like I don't really want to point out any of the ones I'm thinking of because of spoilers, but there are big story moments that happen that for me, I found really touching and really at times heartbreaking, and like I don't know, there's something about that game that felt like magic as I was playing through it. Like something about it felt like it almost felt like a Disney Pixar-ish. Like I can't believe y'all pulled this off with such quality and made me invested in the story in a way that this feels to me. This Final Fantasy VII Remake made me feel the way I felt playing The Last of Us on PS3 in 2013 in a way where I was like, this feels like it's an iconic story that's gonna like sit with me forever. And I love the battle system.
Yeah.
So I've only played, like, I only really played Final Fantasy 15 before 7, and I think the thing that stuck out most to me with Remake was just how confident it was compared to 15. Like 15 was like, I enjoyed that game for what it was, but it was kind of a mess. Like there was like, it's like kind of interesting open world decisions, and like the combat was kind of okay, but it like it worked, but it wasn't, I don't know, it was lacking that punch. And like right from the beginning of 7, even though I don't think I liked it as much as you did, like it's so hard to put down because of that confidence and the way it just like puts you right in it, and you start going, and the combat feels so good, and it looks so good, and the music is incredible, and just music, all that comes together. Like it's so hard to just, I don't know, like that's all I was doing for like 3 or 4 days. I was just playing that game.
Yeah. And the way I compare it, because the Final Fantasy VII Remake versus The Last of Us conversation is so hard for me because they're two completely different games.
Totally.
They're doing completely different things. It's hard to really compare them head on. But by the time I finished Final Fantasy VII Remake and I was, 35, 36 hours in, I did not want it to stop. I wanted the game to keep on going. I finished the game and immediately started a new game. I wanted it to last forever. Whereas with The Last of Us Part 2, by the time I got toward the end of the game, I was like, I'm ready for this to end. And it kept going, and I was like, please stop. I can't take this anymore, please. And like I still love The Last of Us Part 2. And I think like the way in which it kind of served the story, even though I felt like it kind of did a disservice to some of the gameplay. Like overall, like I came out of those two experiences feeling such a love for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and more so like of a fascination and appreciation for The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, I think for me, like you've pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Like Last of Us 2 storytelling is so sophisticated, and like I think it's one of the crowning achievements of narrative within video games. I feel like, and I say that as someone who, I think in other ways, I don't think it's all that great. I found the combat to be good for a while, but then very quickly became grating and felt like a chore. And I get that there's narrative and almost like thematic reasoning for some of that, but it's hard to get over the fact that you're not having a good time to appreciate it serves a purpose, and the monotony of all this is kind of part of its feeling, but there's still what it does with its kind of characterization and the themes. The more, it's one of those games where the more you think about it, the more you can continue to find new things about it. Like you talked about Druckmann saying it being a game about hate, and then you talked about saying, oh, for you it's a game about love. For me, I walked away with it thinking that this is a game about forgiveness, and not either of those two things. And like that's something I've been thinking about for ages. Like I've been writing and deleting and writing and deleting again over and over various kind of like takes on what it means, and there's no other game this year that has is living in my mind rent free in the way that it is. Like it's I think about when I'm like sitting down in a moment, I'll open my notes app and write some thoughts about it and send it to some friends and see what they think about it and that kind of stuff. Having said that, Final Fantasy is a game that, like you said, when I finished playing, I felt good. I felt like I felt uplifted, even though the way it ends is not specifically, that's not what they want you to feel. It is an element of it, but it just felt like a good life affirming or gamer affirming experience, if you know what I'm saying. Like you walk away from that being like, you walk out from Last of Us being like, this is the power of video games. You walk away from Final Fantasy thinking, this is why I play video games. This is why I enjoy video games. This is what I want video games to make me feel. If every game could make me feel like this game, it would be incredible. And like, I get the same feeling as that. I get that same feeling from Persona 5 Royal, which came out this year.
Yep.
And it's that, I think those 3 games are currently leading the pack for me as my favorite games of the year. I'm not ready to entertain a game of the year discussion because there's still loads of games coming out, and I feel like game of the year discussions frame the actual discussion itself in a different way. Like, you know, what's your favorite game versus what's the most impactful, what's the most important, etc., etc. I do not have the energy to start unpicking those elements of it, but I think Last of Us is a profound experience and easily one of the best games of the year so far. Same for Final Fantasy and same for Persona 5 Royal. The stuff that they do in Persona 5 is just fantastic. Like the way, obviously we're on record as being the very Persona friendly podcast. We all have people that love it on our team, and then, you know, Blessings here and Blessings noted Persona 5 fan. And Persona 4 fan.
Noted Persona liker. Blessing.
This is a crew of noted Persona likers. So like, Persona 5 is already a special game to many of us, but the fact that they did what they did to that game to make it even better is kind of astounding. Yeah. It's unreal how good that game is. Like, we gave it a pretty high score and speak effusively about it. But if you had told me like a few years ago they're going to make this game even better, I would not have believed it.
Well, like,
but
that's the thing.
They do.
That's the thing for me, where Persona 5 original I played in 2017, and for me, as somebody who played Persona 4 Golden in like, I think 2015, 2016 for the first time, and absolutely fell in love with it, so much so that it became one of my favorite games of all time. I played Persona 5 and I had so many complaints with it. And part of it was just the fact that, like, Persona 4 Golden being my first Persona, I just love the characters more. I love the story in Persona 4 more. Like, I like the soundtrack in Persona 4 more, and I know that's like probably a controversial thing to say, but Persona 4 just did it for me in all these different ways. And Persona 5, like, I had complaints with, like, I don't know, man, the characters don't seem like deep or interesting enough. I don't know, man, like, the dungeons are cool visually, but I have some problem with some of the dungeon design and some of the combat, and like, I don't know how I feel about the balancing of the battle system and all this stuff. All the stuff I had complaints with, jumping into Persona 5 Royal, and I don't know how, but somehow it fixed everything in a way where now I'm like, oh yeah, Persona 5 Royal is now one of my favorite games of all time too. Like, it's crazy, right? Like, with just the small things they've added as far as features into the dungeons and the battle system, that stuff builds in a way that now makes it flow so well for me. Like, the
just
fact that
fixing SP has done
oh my god,
so much.
Massive. Yeah,
like
the
it's
baton
so
pass.
Huge.
Yeah, and like that combat was already pretty slick. Now it just absolutely sings. Like, there's times where I'll do a standard enemy encounter and then just save the encounter because of how slickly it went. Like, just the baton pass, the exploiting weakness, the rush, all that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's the most, I think it's probably my favorite RPG, turn-based RPG mechanic system of all time. Like, it feels so good. And there's others as well that are amazing, you know, Final Fantasy, Vagrant Story, that kind of stuff. But this one is just like top to bottom. It's just buttery smooth and so cool to watch. Incredible game. And like, yeah, the new content they've added, as well as the quality of life stuff, that all being amazing, but the new content they added is like considered, really well thought out, and addresses things that were missing from the previous game. Like the mental health angle is a big part of that, right? Like, that was something that people came away and were like, it doesn't really explore the impact of that and how they deal with that at all. And then they went away and did that, which is unexpected because you don't get a lot of these types of games exploring the angle of, I mean, mental health is a big part of the Persona and Shin Megami Tensei series as a whole, but I didn't expect them to go back and retrofit it with this much amount of content and address that kind of stuff and speak to it. It's just so well done. And then there's a new character and all that kind of business. It's just like an amazing package for anyone who plays RPGs.
I went from someone who was not going to play Persona 5 Royal because I was like, I don't know if I've got the time to dedicate. And then a couple weeks ago, I bought it on PlayStation. I bought it on the PlayStation Store. So I think eventually I'm going to end up replaying that, hopefully this year, just because like I don't know what I was expecting. Like I figured, like I knew there'd be a new character. I knew there'd be some more story stuff, but I didn't think I would get the urge to play a 150-hour RPG. I mean, 110-hour RPG. I don't know. I think it took me like 110 hours. But like hearing everyone talk about it and stuff like that, it sounds like it makes some significant, meaningful additions that make me excited to jump back into that.
Some of them are like, the interesting thing is about it, some of them, like it took me a while to realize they were actually there because some of them are like just slight tweaks that improve the experience so much that it's almost like they work because you can't tell anything is wrong more than a new feature. And so
doesn't
like
I streamline days too, like it'll just be like days where normally you wouldn't do anything. It's just like, all right, we're just going to jump to the next day.
Well, now we go out at night.
Yeah, that's the thing. You couldn't go out at night, and now they've made it so that within your home, you can basically do a thing that'll add to your overall like social stats. And so like if you want, you can raise your confidence level or your whatever level by like doing something that in your own home, which was missing from the first game, and which like makes you feel like you're not wasting time. And also you can press the touchpad, and that'll then make it so that you can it'll then have like automatic suggestions for things you can do. It'll like essentially teleport you to those things too, which streamlines it a great amount.
That's one of those games where you enter that flow state, or the whatever you want to call it, almost like a slipstream of gaming, where if you want to tune the world out and just get absorbed in the game, the rhythm of Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal more specifically is just so like the momentum it picks up and then pulls you forward with is so good that you just forget the world exists around you, like more so than any other game. You're just so engrossed in it. But yeah, I think those three games, Last of Us, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Persona 5 are leading the pack. But I do have a list of games in front of me if you want me to shout them out. And
sure.
What came out this year that we forgot about?
So there's a game that I do want to give a shout out to, which I've played a ton of, and a game that I thought I was done with, but I've been playing it again, is Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Oh my God, that was this year.
Oh yeah. That is a game that I have spent, I think, like 250 hours. It's a shame Callie's not on today because she would be the one championing this game for sure. But that's a game that I do want to give a shout out to because, like, it was such a phenomenon. It still is. Like, the amount of people who are so invested in this game was absurd. Like, I know Nintendo, I'm sure Nintendo knew it was going to be a success, but like, probably not to this extent. I don't know how they could have predicted, like, Gary Whitta's talk show, which ended up being huge and getting all these celebrities on it.
Sting was on it.
Yeah, Danny Trejo was on it. Like
Danny Trejo was a recurring character on it.
Yeah,
like a recurring guest,
which is insane. But like even beyond that too, like so many people have gotten a Switch just for this game, and it is connected with so many people who normally wouldn't play games or be interested in. And like, but it's also connected with someone like me who I've been a fan of all the Animal Crossing games. I've played them all, at least all the mainline ones. But like this one, it just seems to work so well with how they're implementing updates with seasons. Like it seems like a big thing that was missing from Animal Crossing and all the previous games, like is now there because of this whole, like, what are they called? Lifestyle games, where they update as they go, or live service games. And I feel like just the Animal Crossing formula has been perfected. I mean, if there even was an Animal Crossing formula. And that's a game that, like I said, I thought I was done with, but I am still playing every single day, even if it's just for a couple minutes. And like, it always, I don't know, like Tamora was saying how Final Fantasy made him feel really good. And like, it was a game that made you feel great. And I feel the same way about Animal Crossing. And that, like, even if I play like 20 minutes or so, usually I'm walking away in a good mood because, I don't know, I chatted with one of my villagers, or I caught a fish that I've been trying to catch for a while, and the writing is super clever and fun. I got so many good things to say about that game.
Glad to hear it.
Let me tell you about a game called Predator Hunting Grounds, which I know all you guys are. I know all you guys are too cowardly to shout it out.
It makes me too motion sick.
I've played that many times. I've also fought through motion sickness to play that with Greg and you guys.
Motion sick. I don't know how you guys get motion sick playing this
'Cause
game.
the
This game is
frame
buttery
rate-
smooth.
The frame rate is,
The frame rate.
and like there's a way that it moves. Like there's a slight disconnect between what you're doing and on the controller and the way it
Oh,
moves
yeah.
that just makes you
Yeah,
feel like
there is. Yeah, there is. When you
Oh,
press
it
that
is-
aim button, man, it takes
and
half a
Yeah,
even
second.
the slide and that kind of stuff. It's just like
Oh, it's so janky, but I love it. It's so janky.
Like I really enjoyed. I will say I really enjoyed when we played the beta, and had a lot of fun with it, and it was really janky. But then I played it when it came out, and it was just like it was the motion sickness that did it for me. Like I physically can't play it, which sucks. And I don't know what changed between beta and final release, and maybe they fixed it now. But I had such
They
a bad
haven't.
time that like just after launch when we all played together, that I had to lie down for the whole afternoon and just like not look at stuff.
they
Yeah.
haven't
Sucks.
fixed that. And on the day that it came out, I got it and installed it, and I got a bug. The bug was, on this main screen where it shows you your predator. That
Yes.
none of that was textured for me. So it was just a bunch of triangles that look vaguely like the predator. So it looks awful, and it doesn't have any hands. It doesn't have a head. It's just like parts of its body floating there.
I want to
this-
hear why it's one of your favorite games, though, Blessing. I don't want to
Yeah,
just
yeah.
shit on it.
To this day, if I load the game up, it is still like that. That is permanently my version of Predator now on the screen, and like I'm just like, oh god. And that's like, I enjoy playing that game with you guys specifically, especially with like when you're on and Greg's on and Andy's
Mhm.
on and like other folks are jumping in, like Nick's on. That's fun. That's fun to play, and it makes it worth feeling sick to play it. But if
Fair.
I will never of my own volition go time to fire up some Predator.
Oh, and that's actually where I'm at with it too. Like, I don't think it's one of the best games of 2020 by any stretch, but it is a game that came out in 2020. That I will say that if I was making a list that was top 10 games of 2020 that I've had the most fun with, I could see it possibly making that list. Like, it is a good time, especially with friends to play with. But yeah, no, I just want to give it a shout out as a game that came out in 2020.
If it's okay with you, Jake, podcast master, host master, I'll shout out some games that I've got on a list.
Yeah, read them
And
off.
people can. So we've done a feature. I think it should be up fairly soon, or is up, which is basically the best games of the 2020 so far. And as part of that, we kind of put a bunch of games into a spreadsheet. So I'm going to read them out.
I'm going to do one more quickly.
Go
Doom
on.
Eternal. Doom Eternal is on my
That was the
list
first one I was
as
going
well.
to say.
I figured that would be on there, and I want to make sure we get to it before.
How do
Continue.
you guys feel about the conversation around Doom Eternal? Because I feel like that's a game that everybody expected to come out and blow us all away, and then it came out, and I think it blew us all away, but nobody's really talked about it since.
I bounced off that game too. It felt like
Really?
it was trying to do too much. I went in there. Maybe it's my own fault for expecting more of the same, but I wanted a slick, focused, fast-paced shooter that I could play and like almost barrel through and get like the satisfaction out of. And it's doing the thing where it's like go to the ship and go back and these open-ish environments that you have to platform around. I'm just like, I'm not here for that. I just want the ish shredding metal music and jumping around, firing rockets and shooting guns. And it felt like it overcomplicated itself. Like it had a good thing going, and there was like tried to be too smart. I was like, and then you add this ability and that ability, and it's like, I don't need that.
But
It
I
had
mean,
something
also
good.
it came out the same day as Animal Crossing, which
Yeah.
completely dominated the conversation.
Yeah.
Um,
Also another game that's got like motion sickness vibes to it.
Well, no, they fixed it for Eternal. They actually put, especially on the console version, they've added a bunch more accessibility options, and you can, because I couldn't do Doom 2016, but Eternal I could play.
Yeah, so I never messed with the console accessibility. It's this game I want to go back to because I did enjoy playing it. Also, it's an amazing use case for the Xbox Elite controller because
Oh yeah,
you just press all the things and you're doing all the
That
things
sounds like
on
a
the
good
screen. So like I want to use it more for that. But yeah, it kind of like came and went really quickly.
If I had one complaint with Doom Eternal, it would have been the fact that I feel like the game moves faster than like both I can handle and both like the design of the game could handle. Because at a certain point, especially towards the end of the game, I feel like there's so many enemies that they threw in there with you, and especially the Marauder, I think is the guy that like
Mhm.
takes
I
forever to
did not
kill.
like the Marauders.
Yeah, that dude was doing way too much. But yeah, they would like throw Marauders at you. They throw like a bunch of different people while the Marauders there, and like at a certain point, I was like, man, this is going way too fast. Like I cannot keep up. There are too many enemies on screen. There's too much happening. That said, I had an absolute blast with it. Like, Doom 2016 is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, first-person shooter of this generation. And like, I mean, that's for I think obvious reasons, right? Like it came out and it reinvented Doom. It was super smooth, super focused and straightforward in terms of what it came out to be and do. Doom Eternal felt like it saw Doom 2016 and was like, all right, let's do that, but let's up the ante. And the ways in which it upped the ante might have upped it too much. To where
Bring the ante
control.
back down a bit.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, man, because I love Doom Eternal, but if they're gonna make another Doom, I would like them to be like, all right, let's turn it down a little bit. Let's take a step back. Let's go back. Let's relax and maybe like get more linear. I don't know.
I think I'm with you there because as much as I did like that game, and it'll. I mean, I imagine if it is on my top 10, it might be on the lower end of it, but like that is a game that I feel like it demands a lot of you, which isn't a bad thing. Like that's probably one of my favorite things about it. But like I couldn't just binge that game. Like I couldn't just sit down and play through it. I'd have to take breaks. And the problem with that was that like as you get further, the more it throws at you, then it's like trying to remember how you deal with every enemy type, mostly the Marauder, because the Marauder, your strategy is completely different. And like, I don't know. I imagine I'd be curious to hear your experiences like tomorrow going back to it after not playing it for a while. Cause I feel like that might be not fun.
My plan is to, once I get my new PC, play on that. And
that'll probably be
because I'm way more comfortable with mouse and keyboard with shooters, and also specifically that game because like the flick of the wrist that you need to move around and react to what's happening around you is so demanding, and I just can't get it on a controller.
There is a flow state that you can enter playing that game.
Absolutely,
like,
totally.
It is that type of game where once you get into it, like for me, I felt like I was entering a new dimension, which I think is the magical thing about Doom Eternal is that it kind of transports you into that world, and you feel like you are what's his name, Doom guy, Doom Slayer. Like you feel like you are him, you are embodying him, and you're fucking going a million miles per hour, like slaying things. And when it does that, it is a blast. And like that's honestly I don't really have like any heavy complaints with the game. Like I think the game is overall fantastic, but like it's not that much more fantastic than Doom 2016 is, and I think that's kind of where, as far as like the best games of 2020 go, that's kind of where the conversation kind of ends with it. It's like, yeah, it's another one of those.
Have you? This is a bit of a tangent, but have you guys watched any clips of when Joe Rogan interviews Hugo Martin?
No.
No.
Painful. It is absolutely painful.
What?
Because he got him on the show for some reason. Like I was curious because I was like, why is Hugo Martin on Joe Rogan? So I like clicked in and watched a little bit of it, but it is absolutely painful. I'm sure I'll get hate from people who listen to this because people love Joe Rogan, but like it is so hard to watch. Most of the interview is Joe Rogan being like, but why isn't there like multiplayer? Why can't we like 1v1 each other? And Hugo's like, we just didn't make that kind of game. And he's like, but man, that's like the best part of games when we can do one-on-ones. And he's like,
why is he on Joe Rogan?
I don't know. It was just like, it was so confusing. Like I saw it and I was like, oh my God.
That's funny. I want to see Joe Rogan. Actually, never mind. I was gonna say I want to see Joe Rogan interview Jonathan Blow, but I actually don't.
Yeah,
no,
I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see Joe Rogan interview anyone.
Yeah.
Another game that came out this year, Streets of Rage 4.
Ooh. I haven't played that. I want to.
It's a good game. It's
Same.
fun. I'm just gonna
shout out to Huntdown is what it's called. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's called Huntdown. Similar kind of game, like side-scrolling shoot 'em up, kind of a boss rush-ish game, because what you're doing mostly in that game is boss battles. Really, really fun game. It's probably one of my favorite indie games I've played so far this year.
All right, are you ready to really feel the passage of time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dreams came out this year.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I would put that up there for me at least. I really like Dreams.
Yeah, it's a good game. Obviously, Call of Duty Warzone. A bunch of games that are like perhaps not as garnering as much attention as like sort of Last of Us, but like Pokemon Mystery Dungeons, Rescue Team DX came out, Evan's Remains came out, If Found, Shantae and the Seven Sirens, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Over to our resident weeb, Jake Decker.
That game was good. That game was really good. I gave it a 9. I liked it a lot. It's hard for me to like think about games that came out like that. That's what, a 2007 game that got remastered. So when I'm thinking of my favorite games of 2020, that probably won't be on the list. But it is, a superb game.
Yep. A Resident Evil 3 remake came out this year.
Yeah, I did
not like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was disappointed.
I didn't play it because I like Resident Evil 3 a lot, and I was like, I'm good. I'm all right.
In a vacuum, it's a really good game. But coming off of Resident Evil 2, playing Resident Evil 3 was such a bummer to me.
Yeah,
Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Game I haven't installed.
I have it. I haven't played it yet.
It's really good, but also it felt like a chore every moment I played it. I think I wasn't. I don't know if I just wasn't in the mindset for it, but the things that I usually love about Metroidvanias were just really annoying me. Like I'd reach a dead end and be like, "Oh, why is this a dead end?"
That's my thing. Is like, why haven't Metroidvanias evolved? Like that was kind of my main critique with Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Like you get to dead ends, and I feel like at a certain point, somebody should have thought of the idea to let us draw on the map and let us or give us icons like they have in Breath of the Wild, where you can find an X icon and place that on the map, so you know that you personally know that you're not supposed to go there.
Keep that in
really
mind.
Interesting line of
game developers making for.
Blessing. I think it's an interesting line of thought because like the evolution of the Metroidvania genre seems to have come at the expense of it, because instead of evolving that genre, people have just taken the core of it and made new genres, which is like wild because it's instead of this like a roguelike or whatever it may be. So like that genre has just kind of fallen by the wayside, the core of it. And instead of trying to evolve it very quickly went from being this new exciting genre to being a genre that you now pay homage to almost like too quickly. Like instead of doing the next evolutionary step, we've got Igarashi I'm making a Symphony of the Night like game, which is like, why are you doing that?
Curse of the Moon 2 is about to come out, I think.
Yeah, like don't make that same game again. Make the next phase in that game. And maybe we're asking for too much by trying to come up with new ways. I feel like you can do stuff like that, which is quality of life stuff, but instead of just moving on to another genre, but who knows? Maybe that is the evolution, and we're like not giving it a credit.
At a certain point, and like this is going to sound controversial, but I don't mean it in a controversial way. I feel like once you play one Metroidvania, you kind of played them all, in a sense that like Ori and the Will of the Wisp individually is like a very excellent game, and like honestly, it's also a very touching game. Like it's a very beautiful game. They do such great things with it, but like in terms of the rounds I'm going through in my head as I'm playing the game, I'm like, okay, cool, yeah. Now I find the new ability. Now I'm able to go to this place I haven't been to before. Okay, cool. I go there. Oh, sweet. I can explore a bit. All right. Dead ends. Sweet. New ability. Found it. Now I can go through the dead ends. And it's that same kind of gameplay loop in a way where, like, we've seen Metroidvanias kind of adapted and turned into adapted and either like turned into another genre or I guess adapted in ways where you get games like Batman Arkham Asylum, which is pretty much for all intents and purposes a Metroidvania, but it is doing it in a way that works for, I guess, this third-person action design. We see Metroidvanias kind of grow and evolve in that way to where now, like me playing an actual Metroidvania that is like, hey, we're making a Super Metroid, or we're making a Castlevania Symphony of the Night, just feels way less exciting to me.
Yeah, I think a couple weeks ago someone had asked us the question, like, what are some tropes in indie games that you're tired of? And mine was Metroidvania, because I like you were saying, like, I feel like once you've played a handful of Metroidvania games, like you kind of hit those same notes every single time. That said, though, like that word always gets me excited when like there's a game. It's like, oh yeah, it's gonna have Metroidvania elements. I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Like that could be cool.
Yeah, that's me in roguelite. Like if you say roguelite, I'm like, oh
yeah, that's
real? Yeah, let's go. But like roguelites are kind of have the same thing where a lot of them do have the same kind of gameplay loop, but they're still satisfying though. So
All right.
I'm okay with it.
I'm going to rattle off some names just to get through them because I know we've been running for a bit now and we want to wrap it up.
we got a
But
couple
just so they
questions
get
too.
mentions, yeah. So other games that came out that are noteworthy, Valorant, Under Night Embers, EXE, Late, CLR. I'll just call it that. That's
Clear.
probably wrong. Yeah. Treachery and Beatdown City, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, FE Encore, Wonderful 101 Remastered, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, Murder by Numbers, Minecraft Dungeons, MLB The Show, Kunai, Kentucky Route Zero, Act 5, Journey to the Savage Planet. That's one Jake played. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, which I reviewed and thought was good. Golf on Mars, Gears Tactics, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Desperados 3, I think.
Oh wow! How long is this year?
Command
I
and
forgot
Conquer
Dragon Ball Z
Remastered.
Kakarot came out.
I think that's come on. Bleeding Edge, Neo 2.
Oh yeah.
Bleeding Edge
Edge
came out and died this year.
Did you guys play it?
I played it for a
was
bit.
sent out to die by Microsoft.
Yeah.
That's a bummer, man, because I love Ninja Theory.
Yeah.
I mean, they were bought for Hellblade, right? They weren't
Yeah.
bought for Bleeding Edge.
Neo 2. And of course, the biggest game of the year, Clubhouse Games.
Oh, actually, I was gonna bring up Clubhouse Games, and like my what have I been playing segment. I like that game, though. That game should have done a lot more in its for person online. It's very much a bummer that like only like 5 games are playable for 4 people online in that game.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, those are kind of like the main, the big standouts from the year so far that we've kind of identified. So yeah,
and SpongeBob was on there.
Yeah, isn't that a GameSpot 2 out of 10?
Yeah.
No, but this is a list of games that are noteworthy that came out, not necessarily the best games of the year.
One game I don't think we reviewed that I am excited to try out that a lot of people are saying is one of their favorites is Sludge Life.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys.
Oh, did that come out?
It's on Epic Store
Epic
right
Game
now. It's
Store,
free on Epic Game Store, I think, but it's supposed to come to Switch too. It said it was out on Switch. I could not find it on the Switch store the other day, and I was looking. Maybe it's been pushed back.
Is that the game where they? No, that was. There was one game where they announced the Switch version, and the developer was like,
Oh, that was Indivisible.
That was Indivisible.
Oh yeah.
Literally last week, I was looking up Sludge Life.
Yeah, I was the other day because like everyone was saying how good it is, and I was like, oh, I want to check that game out, but I don't want to play it on. I want to play it on my Switch, and it's not there.
This is specifically a reference just for Lucy and any other British person. But every time someone says Sludge Life, I hear it as Park Life in my head.
Yeah. Sludge Life.
Shout out to Jump Rope Challenge on Switch.
Oh yeah, what a game!
What a game! This is gonna sound like a joke, but I'm being totally serious. One of my favorite games of this year so far has been Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. That re-released this last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago on PS4. And
I heard that it's a great game unless you're really bad at it and can't get the platinum.
Yeah, exactly. Is somebody sneezing, by the way, in one of your houses?
That's great.
Okay, I was like, that sneeze sounds really familiar.
Yeah, you've heard that sneeze.
Okay? He does. If he sneezes once, he sneezes 1,000 times.
Yeah, I was gonna say he sneezes like 5 times in a row. He's done.
He's done.
But yeah, I tried to get the platinum in Episode 1 Racer, and the platinum was broken for me. I think because I used cheats toward the beginning of my playthrough.
You cheated. Cheaters don't win.
I was confused because some of the trophies seemed like they wanted me to cheat to get it, because there was like a trophy that was like win a race in mirror mode, and the way I looked it up online, and the way to unlock mirror mode was to put in cheats. But apparently, also if I beat a track, I then unlock mirror mode. I don't know. There were some of the cheats worked to get me trophies, is what I'm saying. And the fact that like some of the cheats might have locked me off from other trophies, how's that fair? I don't
Consistency.
There, haven't they?
So we want
again, innit? Ridiculous.
Yeah, but I had a blast with that game, and also Burnout Paradise for Switch.
Oh yeah, I've been wanting to play that again. Anyway,
I know these are old games, but
listener questions.
Yes.
All right. Before we get into the listener questions, if you want us to read your question on the show, you can email us at afterdarkpodcast@gamespot.com, or you can join our Discord by DMing anyone. Well, don't DM Blessing. He won't be able to get you into the GameSpot Discord. But Tamora, Lucy, or myself can get you right into the GameSpot Discord, and there's a channel right there where you can sound off questions, or you can just chat with other listeners and whatnot. It's a very good community. But the first question here comes from Lucen Light. Lucy, do you want to read this first one?
Hello. Yeah. from Lucent Light, has there been games that you didn't play for a long time because of your feeling of anticipation was greater than actually playing the game? For me, when Breath of the Wild came out, I was so excited to play and enjoy the game that it took me a while to actually play because that anticipation made me happy and I didn't mind waiting, even though nothing was stopping me.
I did this with Skyrim. I mean, I guess I played Skyrim when I first got it, but
me too,
I only
actually.
played a little bit of it, and I knew it was going to be something I was waiting for it for years, super excited for it. And like, I think like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 came out around the same time, or maybe it was like Black Ops or something. I don't remember.
I
don't know.
I bought it with Assassin's Creed Revelations, and I stupidly played Assassin's Creed Revelations first, then I played Skyrim, even though I had both of them and I could have done both at the same time. But
I think I did, or no, maybe it was Left 4 Dead 2. I don't know. There was a lot of games that came out that year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember that being a game that I played about 20 minutes of, and I like stopped, not because I wasn't into it, but because I was enjoying how excited I was to play it, I guess.
Yeah.
And plus there was a bunch of other great games that were out, so I just set it aside. And then, a month or two later came back to it and sunk a lot of time into it. But I think even when I was done with it, I was like, yeah, I didn't like that as much as Oblivion, and just kind of.
Yeah.
I had that with XCOM Chimera Squad recently. I was so excited to play it, and then I bought it, and the moment I bought it, just every bit of excitement dissipated. Like, I was just like done. I was more excited for the prospect of having XCOM than actually playing it. I'm sure I'll get to it eventually, but I was just like, okay.
Yeah, that came out this year too, right?
Yeah, it did, yeah. Runs like absolute trash on everything for some reason, though.
Blessing, what about you?
I feel like Death Stranding might be one for me, where like that game I was super excited for. Like, I don't think I had been as excited for many other games as I was for Death Stranding, just because I'm a big Kojima person, and the idea of him working on a new IP just like seemed very exciting to me. But that game came out around the same time as Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then also Jedi Fallen Order.
Mm-hmm. And
like, by the time those games were coming out, I was like, all right, I might prioritize Death Stranding last, because like I'm already excited for it. I'm fine with like, maintaining this excitement, especially like after reading reviews and saying that like so many people were like, this game's actually kind of boring. I was kind of fine putting it off for that. And then, by the time I actually got to it, like I was still kind of really excited for the game, and I was still somewhat a fan with it, even like with a fan of it, even without necessarily having played it. I just like the idea and like the what I had seen of gameplay and the thought of it. I played some of it, and at a certain point, I kind of like fell off just because other things happened, and I've not gone back since. Like, and it's still a game where I'm like, yeah, I had a like it was. I consider it fantastic. I consider it really cool. Like, I like a lot of what the game was doing, but at the same time, I've just not had it in me to kind of go back to it. And that's kind of where that answer is at for me.
I think I'm going through that now with the PC version, where I'm so hyped for the PC version, and I'm worried that when it comes out, I'm just gonna be like, yeah.
I am the biggest surprise of 2020 for me is how excited I am to play Death Stranding again on PC, because I didn't even like the game I thought it was great, but it just didn't. I was frustrated most of the time playing that game, even though overall I did like it. But for some reason, I think it's just like seeing that game run on PC. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to go back and do it in widescreen and max out the graphics and whatnot, and just be Norman Reedus for a little bit.
Use mods. Like, the moment he's got like infinite sprint, make him like the Roadrunner. You know what I mean?
Next question from Depressed Carbon. Do you want to take this one, Timur?
Sure. Has there been a game that, even though it's old, you went back and played? Mostly speaking about consoles, although playing Half-Life. There been a game that, even though it's old, you went back and played? I think mine would have
I think they're talking about like re-plugging in an old console.
Oh, after the fact.
Yeah.
I think mine would have to be Ocarina of Time, which was not of my generation, although it is not that old, that it's still graphically outdated. I find it to be still visually pleasing, and the music is some of my favorite video game music next to Undertale. I hope you guys are doing well and stay safe. So basically going back after the fact and playing.
This person has good opinions.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. Depressed Carbon, you've got good opinions. Blessing approved.
I approve.
Super Smash Bros. Melee was one for me that I guess I haven't played recently, but that's a game that I'd always go back to because I did not like Brawl at all. And I got rid of my Wii, but I never got rid of my GameCube. I'd always hook up my GameCube. Well, I've gotten rid of my GameCube since then, but like I kept that for so much longer, and I'd always plug that back in just to play Super Smash Bros. Melee.
For me, it's difficult because all of my old consoles are up at my mum's, and I kind of left them there when I moved. So I haven't really gone back and played anything old in a long time. Yeah, that's my answer, sadly.
Playing Dishonored, like, it's not that old, but like
That's the same console generation, right? Because I'm playing Definitive Edition.
true.
Well, I guess I did play Mass Effect 1 again last summer, but I played it on PC this time. Technically, I did start it on Xbox. I played but then I changed it to PC.
I think that counts though.
I do regular playthroughs of Metal Gear Solid, and at this point I'm doing it on the Vita because it's just easier.
Oh, how's it playing? Are you playing through like 2 and 3 or 1? I know I'm
playing through 1 at the moment. I'm playing through 1. Yeah.
Okay. Have you played 2 and 3 on the Vita?
I have played 2 and 3 on the Vita. And it requires a little finger gymnastics to get it done properly for stuff like, when you aim first person and then look and then like get on your tippy toes to like shoot and that kind of stuff. It involves like the touchpad as well to get the menu system up, and you can fiddle with it, but it doesn't feel elegant, but it feels playable. Sadly, they are taking it out of Game Pass fairly soon, I believe. So,
are they really?
Otherwise, that would be the way I'd recommend you play 2 and 3 in the HD collection. But yeah, that's a game that I go back to a lot, and I regularly play the beginning of Super Metroid, just until the point where it starts to open up, like the opening sequence, and then do a bit of like a few of the early areas, just because it feels good to play that game. Those are probably the 2 that I play most frequently.
Yeah, I love going back and revisiting old games, especially ones that I haven't played. So like Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, for the most part, was a game that I hadn't played much of. As a kid, I played it at a friend's house, but that was only like the first few tracks of it. And so like actually going through and playing through all the tracks was a really fun time for me. I played Banjo-Kazooie all the way through for the first time in 2016, toward the end of 2016, and it became like one of my favorite platformers. Trying to think of what else. Ocarina of Time was a game I played for the first time in like 2013, and really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, like I tend to regularly go back to games, just because I don't know. There's something about older games that I feel like are fun, at least for me as somebody who was an N64 kid, and like spent so much time with that and the PS2 growing up. I feel like for me, going back to those consoles, one is kind of nostalgic, but then also I feel like they translate well for me in terms of games not aging up well or whatever. Like I'm able to play a PS2 game kind of almost in the same mindset as I would have played it in like 2003 or whatever, when the PS2 was still relevant.
All right. Following up on Depressed Carbon's question, is there an old game that you enjoyed but can't go back to it due to its graphics, controls, etc., being old or janky? That one's from Robert J. First one that comes to mind for me are like Knights of the Old Republic. As much as I love those games, I feel like I've tried to play them again a couple times, and it just didn't hit like it did back in 2004 whenever it came out.
Last of Us, man.
Oh, really?
I tried to play that at the end of last year, and it just feels so different. Like it feels like a very 2013 game, and it just doesn't feel smooth to play at all. And that was back before Naughty Dog had really figured out shooting. Like I have always said, and I've always believed that the shooting in the Uncharted games has never felt satisfying up until 4 and Lost Legacy.
I agree.
Agreed.
And yeah, I think Last of Us was still very much in that ballpark, and it just feels, I don't know, it just feels very, very different. But I love the story so much that like in the lead up to 2, I decided to just watch a Let's Play through instead of playing it again. It's not even like that it feels bad or that it looks bad. It still looks great. It just felt different to me, and I just felt like I didn't really want to go back and play it.
It's just awkward enough to make it not enjoyable, not enjoyable, but like it just doesn't feel comfortable. Like it feels weird. Yeah.
That's my
thing. I'm trying to think of one, but I can't think of anything that like.
Just to throw it out there, I've been watching one of our listeners, Foggy Bear. I've been watching his stream, and he was streaming Walking Dead season 1. And that is a game I could never return to. As much as I liked it when it came out, watching him play was just like, oh boy, this game has aged a lot. Like the writing is still great. The writing is still really good, but like, I don't know. When they're at the hotel and he's like walking around trying to get chalk, and he's just like blindly walking around. He's like, I've talked to everyone. I don't know what I'm missing. And then you find a piece of chalk and it triggers the next scene. And it's like, in what world does finding a piece of chalk like trigger? I don't know. It's so strange. It made sense at the time, but watching it, I was like, yeah, there's no way I can.
I miss Telltale, man.
I do too.
I mean, Walking Dead season 2 is happening somehow.
Wait, Walking Dead.
Wolf Among Us.
Oh, Wolf Among Us.
That is one that I'll definitely play.
Yeah, I will 100% play that because I love Wolf
Among Us. And I really liked Walking Dead too, to be fair. Like, I don't want to, like, I thought that game was fantastic at the time, and in some regard I still do. But man, watching someone play through that again, I was like, nah, I don't think I could do it.
There's like platformers from the 90s era that I would love to be able to play again, but I just can't because they feel bad. Like, even like the Spire games, I mean, they've been remastered since and they feel a bit better, but like the Crashes, the Spyros, and there's various other like platformers from back in that generation that I'm like, I could try that, but probably is not. I'd rather preserve my memory of it than actually replay it and potentially tarnish that.
That's fair.
For me, I mean, it's a game that I didn't necessarily love back in the day because I didn't play much of it back in the day, but like every time I try to play Resident Evil 4, for some reason, I'm not able to get into it, which is probably like my most controversial video game opinion.
You are coming in here with the controversial opinions today.
Yeah. My Resident Evil 4 takes have gotten me in hot water in the past, but for some reason that game's never been able to do it for me. And I mainly blame the fact that I don't think the controls have aged well. Like I agree with you there. They haven't. Like that game did so much, but it does feel very, very awkward to go back to.
I've beaten that game once, and I've started it probably 16 times. Like, I really like it. It's really good. Like it's one of my favorite games, but like for some reason, it's difficult to get through that because I think it's because the opening of that game, I think is like incredible. And then when it starts to get to the castle areas, when I kind of start to lose interest on repeat playthroughs.
The furthest I've gotten in that game is playing it on the Wii. Because I think surprisingly, like I think it controls pretty well, but I got to a point where I was like, I am tired of holding my hands up like constantly. I like legit, I physically got tired of it, and I was like, I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm not going to keep doing this. But that was the closest I got to actually like playing through that game.
Anyway, any last minute games to shout out before we wrap this thing up? No. All right. Well, that's been episode 49 of GameSpot After Dark. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Lucy and Timur, for joining. And thank you, Blessing, for guesting on this episode. I know it was pretty last minute. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was an awesome time.
Timur,
invite me back, preferably when Michael Hyam is on.
We'll have Michael on too.
Thank you. Appreciate it. He texted me actually something to say to you guys.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I had to text back and be like, can I say this on the episode? But he told me I could say it. And so if this is inappropriate, Michael's in trouble, not me. He told me that if I see Jake and Tam, tell them to eat his ass from the front.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That wouldn't be the first time.
Okay.
Or the last.
Hyams told me to SMDFB and eat his ass from the front.
Timur, where can people find you on Twitter? And
You can find me on Twitter at TimurH. I'm working on... What the hell am I working on? Things. A lot of things.
We've got to do that audio logs thing tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, we've got audio logs. Oh, yeah, we've got audio logs to work on. We're doing the charity streams. Charity streams are winding down this
They'll
week.
be done. They'll be.
By
Oh
the
no,
time
there'll be
you're
one
hearing
left.
this, there'll be one. The Friday one is a kind of After Dark live. That's the
Chill
plan
stream.
anyway. Chill stream where it's going to be a few of us just chatting and talking about the play for all experience. While we're talking about that, we just launched our GameSpot store, merch store, specifically for currently for Play for All. So if you go to store.gamespot.com, you'll find a bunch of really cool merchandise there that you can buy. There's a t-shirt, which is really cool. It's just like really low-key Play for All logo. There's a hoodie there. There's a face mask. There's a skateboard deck. There's a touch tool that you can press things without actually using your fingers, and a poster that's really cool. All proceeds from that until from June to the end of August 2020 go directly 50-50 split between Direct Relief and Black Lives Matter. So any money that you spend there is going for going to good causes, and you also get something cool out of it. We've got the t-shirts and the poster. We've got ourselves, and they are super high quality. So it's worth checking out.
I actually really like the t-shirts and a lot of the stuff on there because it's like kind of minimalist. It's not, it doesn't hit you with like crazy colors and logos. It's just very, very subdued, which I like. Lucy, how about you?
I'm on Twitter at Lucy James Games, and I've got a week off. So peace out, lads. I'll see you in a week.
You're going to miss episode 50.
Me as well, actually.
I know.
I keep forgetting that I've also got a week off.
You're going to miss episode 50 too.
I mean, it's not like we're going anywhere. If you need us in, just
we'll dial in.
Text us, man. I've done my taxes this week. Next week I have to sort out my student finance. I'm organizing my closet. I'm cleaning my bathroom. Like, I've got big plans.
Gonna take a crack at Half-Life Alyx.
Maybe, but there's nothing that would drop.
I've lined up Diablo. I'm ready to play some Diablo. Cannot wait.
I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
No, seriously.
He's being serious.
He's being serious.
Diablo 3.
I need to buy it cheap. I missed the sale. But also I've got The Sims.
Greg was talking about it the other day, which leads me to believe he has it.
I mean, maybe.
Blessing, how are you? Where can people find you? What are you working on?
You can find me on Twitter at Blessing Jr. That's at Blessing JR. And you can find my content on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Over there, I am a part of Kind of Funny Games Daily, which is our daily news show that happens pretty much every single day of the week, weekday, so Monday through Friday. And that happens at 10 a.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames live. And so if you like video game news, tune into that. If you like PlayStation, I host the PlayStation podcast with Greg Miller, Lucy's roommate, who you heard sneezing earlier. And that also is on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. P.S. I love you, XOXO. That's also on your podcast services of choice, wherever you love listening to podcasts. And so PlayStation, video game news, and other shenanigans all happening. Kind of funny.
Cool. Blessing, get Diablo. Play Diablo with us.
I don't know.
Diablo, you coward.
Very much seems like not my jam of a game.
How much is it on Amazon?
Do it, you coward.
Is that Final Fantasy 14 update live that's supposed to...
Not yet. It got delayed.
God dang.
Listen, if I couldn't get into X-Men Legends, I don't know if I'm getting into...
Dude, it is not the same thing. Relax.
$35.
I actually did kind of get into X-Men Legends. That was a lie. I did like that game when I was younger.
You can find me at Jacob Deck, and I don't know, I'm working on this podcast. And I know, Jean-Luc and I are we're going to try to make a Cyberpunk video every single week until the game comes out. I don't know if we'll hit every week, but we're going to try to be making Cyberpunk videos very often. The first one, which the script is already written, is a history of Night City. So a lot of these are going to be lore-based. So if you're someone who's super excited for Cyberpunk 2077 and you know nothing about the world, these videos are for you. Even if you know a good amount, like we're going to try to touch on everything from the history of Night City to the different gangs, to the different districts, to the different characters. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to stay tuned for that. I'm very excited for those videos. I think they're going to be a lot of fun.
Old strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Yep. All right. See y'all next week.
Hey.